One thing that I like to say to myself when I'm feeling like I don't feel like I'm doing enough, I like to compare myself to where I was last year. It's like how much money did I
Mm.
make last year at this point? Like, oh, I'm pretty even. I'm actually ahead, and I have a rental property. Cool. Okay, I'm doing better. I can't compare myself to Brett Daniels and Ryan Zolan and Jamil and Pace. I can't compare myself to those guys because those guys are in a complete different level. Hell, I can't even compare myself to the big hitters in my market because they have a lot more resources and experience. But I can compare myself to my actions of what I did last year. And if I compare myself to that and I see growth from that, I should feel good.
Okay, well, so like, what's been going on this last month? Like, what? Tell me about all the things that have happened.
Uh, so much and also so little. From the last conversation that we had, we right now we're taking on two rehabs, and it's just been taking a lot of time from us, a lot of trial and error. Um, but we are almost at the finish line. We already have a tenant. We should have it completely renovated and finished by the end of next week. And so we can put this behind us and just continue focusing on wholesaling.
Okay, so what led to what? Can you tell me some of the trial and errors that have been happening? What can people learn from?
The order of schedule of a rehab, I've through this experience, I have learned that a project manager is extremely important just because I have been doing the things that I need to do to rehab the property in orders that were not correct. And so I had to redo some things and repay for some things that maybe if I would have known the order of how things should be done, I would have avoided. And so, a project manager and having detailed scope of work was the biggest thing that I learned from it. And also being very transparent and thorough when you're speaking with contractors. You may have a vision in your head and you assume that they have that same vision because obviously, but never the case. You have to be very diligent to what you want done and explain to them pretty much step by step, um, just to make sure that they have, the right instructions to get what you want.
Okay, all right, and what? So any hiccups with besides like I guess clarification with the general contractor and stuff like that? Did you know these people? Like, how did you find your general contractor? Are you using the same one for both projects
Yes.
then?
Well, so I'm using one guy that I actually just a referral from a friend of mine that he painted his house and then he actually came over and painted my personal house. And we like to work so much that we started just using him for the different rentals. And he does paint, drywall, um, and just kind of manual labor things. And I mean, he's absolutely amazing, and I think it's a steal because he only speaks Spanish. So I think him, me being bilingual and being able to work with him has really helped him venture out on his own because that's what he's working on, and as well as um, me using him for pretty much everything that he can do. Everything else that I've outsourced has just been through plumbers and electricians because of permitting. But this guy's pretty much doing everything else.
And how? So deadlines had to be pushed. Did you say like were? Did you set a deadline and then it had to be pushed out a bit because of some things, or like how did you?
No, I
What did
didn't
that?
push out the deadline. The deadline is actually the thing that has kept me on track because um, again, the order of things, I already got a tenant and the tenant's moving in June 1st and we're still not done with the rehab. And so now it's like, okay, we need to make sure that it's done by June 1st. And yeah, we're at the very end of it. I'm very happy with the end result. I think the appraisal is going to come out beautifully, and the finishing touches is really going to come out, and it's looked really good. It's just been, I think, since this being my first time, I probably over budgeted or under budgeted and went $5,000 over than what I expected to do. And I could have saved that money if I had the experience or maybe had a mentor to tell me how to do things in the order that I should have done. Because that $5,000 I think just came out of pure mistakes. But it's been a good growing process.
I think that's good for people to hear, though, that it's not always. Well, I think every person I've talked to that has done rehab says it's never going to go like perfect ever.
Yeah, I think last time we talked, I was super excited about it, and now I'm just
Yeah,
like,
well,
get me out of this.
but now you know all the things to do, like the scope of work. I didn't know about that until another success call that we did, and he was telling me about how like he's so diligent with scope of work because it just like you don't want wires being crossed through any one of like someone thought they needed to do this, but they actually needed to do this. And wow, it takes time to do those things, but it will definitely not, it'll save you time in the long run instead of having to backpedal. Would you say to someone who's, okay, so definitely, you would say get a mentor, do have someone with you that has done it before, correct?
Mm-hmm. And even if it costs something, like that money that you'll pay for someone to maybe guide you through the process will save you time, money, and energy in the entire process. So like pay if you don't have to get a mentor to walk you through the steps, but if you have to pay for it, that money you're going to get back tenfold, because not only did I waste or spend unnecessary money that I needed to on this project, but the amount of energy that I spent into this, taken away from my wholesaling business, has just been, I can't even quantify how much money that's probably taken away from me. And it's not like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, spend a couple hours at the rental and then come home and then do this, but like that, those decision making processes and like going there and then coming back and then driving, it just takes the energy away and your steam from your routine of what's been working. And that's, yeah, definitely a mentor.
So how are you then pivoting from that, like getting back into the groove of things for the wholesaling business? How's that been going, and like what have you been doing to kind of get it back into the rhythm?
Yeah, I slowly getting back into the rhythm. I know there's always stress of like you got to get the next deal, like you got to keep moving. But right now, like my and sometimes I feel like kind of like it's like, oh, you shouldn't say that because you can do more. It's like my mental capacity of just being able to handle both. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna handle one thing at a time, and once I'm done with it, I'll get back on here. I know how to wholesale. I know what I need to do to get deals. Right now, I'm not doing a very good job because my focus is on this rehab. Once it's done, I'm gonna get back to it. And maybe in the future rehabs, I'll have somebody just completely do it for me and just have completely hands off, that's the goal for the next rehab. So then I can continue to make money on, the things that I know will make me money.
Can I tell you, Enzo, it's so refreshing to hear that from someone, because I feel like um, so many people in this industry are like, yeah, like hustle, hustle, hustle. Like you should just be like, just keep going and grinding. And it is like hard work, but like you have to check in with yourself to be like, am I good? And so I think it takes more, um, I don't want to say like strength, but it definitely takes a lot more to look at yourself and say, no, I need to take a minute, and like this is my mental capacity and I need to prioritize that. I don't think a lot of people realize how important that is, because if you're burnt out, like then you drop everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just self awareness of what you can. anytime you're doing something, it's always your best, because if you could do more, you would, right? Even though you know internally it's like, yeah, I know I could do more, but you're not. So that is your best at that very moment right there. So that I try to keep that in mind. It's like right now I'm just doing my best. It might not be my peak performance that I'm used to doing, but right now this is my best. And I have that mentality to keep my sanity, to make sure that I complete this project. And once I complete it, I'm just going to focus on wholesaling and just get back to it, because I try to cut corners by saying, oh, I don't need to hire that out. I'll do it myself. And I could. And it saved me money, but it's costing me money that I'm not even seeing on the deals that I'm missing out on.
Now, I want to kind of go into the tenant process and stuff like that, because some people will want to know, like, how do you well, because you hear horror stories about tenants, and so how did you go about finding and like vetting this tenant?
So we use two platforms, Zillow, obviously, to get applications. We also used Avail. Avail is a really cool website that not only will vet the tenants, but you can create leases on it, and you just everything is pretty much self-managed for $5 a month per property, and it's really really cool. It does a template of leases, and you can edit them, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. But to answer your question, we found the tenant through Zillow. Zillow does a really good job of doing background checks,
Mm.
W-2 checks. You have to submit all that paperwork, and it's a $55 application fee for them. So if someone's paying $55 just for the applications, you know that they're serious. And then once we were able to review her um, work history, we were able to do call her references. We were planning on doing a home visit to see what the environment of her living situation is like, because how she's living
Mm.
now is going to foresee, how she's going to treat our property. And with all those things, all of them checked the right boxes. We got really lucky. This is a single person that's living in this property in a two-bedroom house. So the least amount of people in the property, the less damage that you're most likely going to deal with. So we were really fortunate there.
And no, do you are you allowing pets in your rentals?
Yeah, I do. Small pets. I mean, I have two 85-pound dogs, so I love animals. And for me to not allow pets, even if it's an investment property, okay, I'm not going to allow the dogs that I have into my rental, because that's probably not sound. But like this, she has a, 15-pound Chihuahua, and I have such a beautiful backyard. It'd be a shame for a dog not to take advantage of it. And so, yeah, it worked. It worked out. This person, she needed to find something quick. This was really close to her family, her parents' house, and they have this small dog. With the timing and the rent, actually, I was able to find somebody so quick that I kind of like kicked myself, be like, man, I probably could have gotten $100 more a
More money.
month. Yeah, because it's coming out to be a really really nice rehab, which another learning experience. Like I rehabbed this place for like a flip, not a rental, and I could have saved a lot more money there, because like now I have these nice finishes and these nice cabinets and granite. It's not granite countertops, but they're very close to the nice countertops. And the bathroom has been completely remodeled, and it's just like it looks like I could sell this house, but it's going to be rented. So, I probably could have saved a couple thousand if I would have had different finishes to keep it as a rental. But on the other side of that coin, it's like I would like to rehab a property to a point that I would feel comfortable living in it. And so, that's also what I was thinking when I was rehabbing it.
I didn't even think about that, because I definitely would have done what you did and say, like, I want it to be I want to feel like I would want to live here too. Do you think though that the fact that, I mean, I don't want your tenant to leave, but do you think it'll be easier then maybe in the next year to up rent if the place is so nice?
Yes. 100%. I think we wouldn't have an issue. Like right now, we got it at 1175. I think we could have gotten right now 1250 for it, and that would be the goal next year. But if I keep the same tenant, I probably would only raise rent if taxes are raised, and I would raise them accordingly. I wouldn't just raise rent. People like to raise rent 5% every year, which is, I guess, a good tactic. But if I have a goal for cash flow, if I hit that cash flow goal, I keep it. If my taxes get raised, I raise the rent. But I would way rather, lose out on, an extra $25 a month to have a really good tenant.
Yeah, no, I think I did. That was another thing. I don't think people realize the pain of having renters, like retention, and if they leave, that's a vacant home sitting there for you, and then you have to go through all of that pain again. And I mean, I guess this renter was kind of a golden. See, you went through so much with this rehab. It was just like, yes, we get a renter that is like right there. It's quick, it's good, and so the headache, it balanced out the headache.
Absolutely, it sure did. And to your point, I mean, you have to be very diligent with tenants and the vacancy, because you get 1 month of vacancy, that goes a quarter of your like monthly or your annual cash flow goes out the window if you have like 2 months of vacancy. Because when you're vacant, you have to do like retouches, and let's say something's not working as it should be, you have to fix it up, and then now your entire year of cash flow just went out the window. So you really want to have good tenants for a long time, and yeah, we're doing a really sound system of checking in with the tenants every 6 months and going to the property. Like we're going to the property to walk it to see, and it's in the lease. Like every 6 months, we're going to come by the property, take a look at it, and also ask you what's working, what's not working, what can we fix? Because it's a double-edged sword. Because it's like we're also checking on our investment every 6 months, but at the same time, we're going by the tenant and be like, hey, how are things doing? Like, do you need us to fix anything? Is everything working to your satisfaction? And then it's kind of, it's good for both the tenant and the landlord.
I mean, I think that would make it even better for them to stay if they know that they're being taken care of. And for this being, again, I find this interesting because I'm going to love our next meeting and hearing like how some of this is going, because you'll have the tenant in and you'll know how all of that's going. Do you already have like a maintenance person on hand, or are you thinking, or are you just doing it?
Well, so here's the thing. My partner Melanie, she is acting as the property manager, and I will
Okay.
be
Oh, okay.
acting as the maintenance. We don't want her to think that the landlord is also the maintenance person. So it's kind of like this. I wouldn't say deceiving in a way, but we want to have those two things separate. Like if she has questions about the property or something's gone wrong, she's gonna call Melanie. If and then I'm gonna be the one that shows up. So there's different layers of, I guess, management, and so
Mm-hmm.
it keeps things a lot more clear. Because then if I'm going over there and she knows that I'm the landlord and I'm going over there and fixing something, then it's just like more things might just start popping up. It's like, hey, also like talk to me, talk to that. And it's if we keep it separate, it's like, hey, if you have a problem, reach out to Melanie, we can come back and do this. And keeping that separate might limit the outreach for the tenant to be, here, there, and all that. But there better not be any outreach. We just fixed everything.
You're like, when I say we did a rehab, we did a rehab.
Everything. So
And this other, you have another project going on too.
yeah, so that one, yeah, right. We did our first two rehabs simultaneously at the same time.
Would you? So you wouldn't recommend that?
No, not even a little bit. The only plus side is that we're keeping our guy busy, and we really like our guy. So that's the thing. So we're keeping him busy. He's not going to go try to find another job. So that's a plus. The downside is obviously everything that you can think of. But it's um, it's going well. That one we're not going to rent out until July 1st, and it's a little less work, but the problem with that one, the previous owners were like smoking inside the house, so the entire house smells like cigarettes. That was probably the biggest expense aside from like the big ticket items like the bathroom and the kitchen. Putting kills all over those walls to make sure that they get the smell away. We had to redo the floors. Just, I mean, pretty much a $20,000 to $25,000 rehab, which, oh, I don't even start like getting into the headache of the interest rates going up. Now our cash flow that we expected to make had just got cut by 20% because the interest rates went up. We were expecting to get a 4.5% interest rate on our commercial loan, but now it's going to be about 6%. And so that's another thing that we're like, okay, we're going to try not even to think about it. With that we cannot control. Focus on the things we can control. The rest hopefully will take care of itself.
That's huge because yeah, that's been a big point of topic right now in the real estate investing community, real estate in general.
Yeah, Burr right now is not what I would recommend to anyone, because whatever you think your cash flow is going to be, it's in a couple months it might change. So I would recommend just wholesaling and flipping. Burr right now is not what would have been a couple of months ago. The only and I got fortunate with the first property that I talked about. I actually got that owner finance. So I got an owner finance 0%. All payments are going directly to principal. So that one I'm perfectly happy with. But the second one, we're going to have to do a cash out refi, and it's just going to cut into our net profit on that property since the interest rates went up.
Now, is this property in the same area as the other one?
Yeah, they're I think 1.2 miles away from each other. So
So are you going to up the rent on? Are you going to start this rent up higher than you did with the other one?
well, not I will. So we originally thought we were going to get 950 for this one. It's also a 2-1, very similar to it, but the area is not as nice, even though it's only a mile and a half away. My property is like an end of a cul-de-sac. There's always kids playing in the community. It's right in front of us, the street of a middle school. The other one is a little bit different. So we're expecting 950. Now with the interest rates going up and the touches that we're putting onto it, we're going to probably get 1050 for it, which is not going to give us more money. It's just going to cover the loss that we're taking on the higher interest rate.
Right. That you're right. That totally shifts just everything. That's been a month.
Yeah, a couple of months.
That shifted everything.
Yeah, now it's just going up. With historically, the interest rates are still really low, but it's just like we just assumed that they were going to stick around that 3-4%, and now it's getting 6.5%, and we're not even done with it yet, and so it's who knows what it's going to be at, but yeah, I mean, aside from cash flow, there's just going to be so many more advantages to having rental properties, tax advantages, appreciation, depreciation. And so it's not all cash flow. People always like to think like, how much money am I putting into it? How much money am I going to get out? And what's my monthly cash flow? Those are big things that you should consider, but the tax advantages that come with it are something that are very much overlooked, that really are probably the biggest benefits to owning a rental property.
So when do you think your next? What's the goal for the portfolio here then? Because you want to go back to wholesaling. It sounds like you need a minute from rehabbing and doing all that. So what does that look
for the rest of the year?
I don't.
No, not anymore for the rest of the year. I mean, we have a monetary goal with wholesaling, and this past month it really set us back. I mean, we're still on track more or less, But, with the holiday months that people always like to say, oh, give me a call back after the new year, stuff like that, those are going to be lag months. And so we really want to, our main goal is to just retire as quickly as possible. That's where we're so, I guess, so focused on getting rentals so we can get cash flow and passive income. But like when we're knocking out, fifteen to $30,000 wholesale deals, be like, I mean, we do a couple of those a month and then maybe take a month off. That's still passive. We just, we need to keep doing what we're good at, and yes, grow with the rental portfolio, but take it easy. We have so much time. We've only been doing this for 2 years, and we already have two, potentially three rentals. And we also just locked up a deal that we're closing on the 31st that we're going to do a flip on. And so it's kind of like just, you know, it's hard not to be like, go, 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 move, move, move with all these like YouTubers and all these influencers talking about how much money they're making. But it's just like, just be happy with how much you're making and be happy and hungry. That's what I would recommend. Happy and hungry. Be happy with what you got. Be hungry to grow, but like just enjoy what you're doing. Because if not, you're always going to feel like you've never done enough.
I feel like the biggest takeaway I have with this conversation is the self-awareness, which I really like. It's because I feel like, there are even people I do success calls with and they get their first deal or they get the second, but then I think they get burnt out and then it's just like nothing happens. So I think that's great. You want to have fun with it. You don't want to hate what you're doing because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I even talked to my partner Melanie, and I was just like, man, I'm losing my drive. Like I don't feel like excited or motivated to make calls in the morning and do this, and it's just because I'm thinking about so many things to do, and it's just like, and it's just, if you're all over the place, just it doesn't work out. Just narrow in on one thing at a time, and then when you're done with that, okay, cool. Let's jump into the next thing. But
Man,
I gotta thank my therapist. She's been doing a great job with me. So that's why the self awareness is coming about, because I've been really stressed about with this rental and with not hitting the numbers that I'm used to hitting on my wholesale deals. So now I'm just kind of like, the self awareness is really keeping me, I guess, sane. Yeah,
healthy.
healthy, sane. Yeah,
That's so I cannot wait to meet you in person because like I feel like because we get along well over virtual too, but like you and Melanie, like I just love your mission and also that you guys just you're doing it a healthy way, and that's just so refreshing because you again. I just hear about the grind, 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 grind. And I think also, like you pointed out a great point of there's so much like comparison against the gurus or like these success calls where people are like, wow, this person's like doing this much. And even with your, you could close like 3 to 5 wholesale deals a month. Someone could easily just be like, whoa, I got to do that. But maybe that's not their journey or like what they should be doing or they can do at this point. So they shouldn't like hold themselves to that
yeah.
level.
One thing that I like to say to myself when I'm feeling like I don't feel like I'm doing enough, I like to compare myself to where I was last year. It's like how much money did I
Mm.
make last year at this point? It's like, oh, I'm pretty even. I'm actually ahead, and I have a rental property. Cool. Okay, I'm doing better. I can't compare myself to Brett Daniels and Ryan Zolan and Jamil and Pace. I can't compare myself to those guys because those guys are in a complete different level. Hell, I can't even compare myself to the big hitters in my market because they have a lot more resources and experience. But I can compare myself to my actions of what I did last year. And if I compare myself to that and I see growth from that, I should feel good. If I don't see growth from that and I'm not okay with it, then it's time to take action. But if I don't see growth in that, but I'm happy where I'm at, like, okay, let's just go a couple more months and then see where you've been from what you've grown from then. And so it's compare yourself to your previous self is the biggest thing when it comes to growth.
I'm just thinking Sam's probably adding little markers in here because that was a great quote right there. That was a moment.
By the way, everybody on my Instagram is like, "Are you sponsored by DealMachine?" Because I'm like taking,
Yes.
I even got the hat right now. And it's like they're like, "You're always putting these reels up, and you're always taking pictures with the hat and all that." And it's like, no, it's just literally one of the main resources that's gotten me where I am today. So.
Well, hey, you know what? You'll just start being an affiliate, and then we will be sponsored. You'll come and talk when we have events or something. Like,
Which, by the way, I am not happy. Well, okay, I'm not happy with how little driving for dollars that we're doing. Now we only drive for dollars when we're like going out to eat. Before we go home, we'll say, okay, we got to go through like some back roads to add some properties here and there. We're adding like 20 or 30 properties a day, which is fine. But we're so used to so many more. But yeah, I really need to get back on the road.
you're focusing on the one thing.
You're
right
giving
now,
my own
and then
advice.
you're
Okay, you're right.
I'll just send you the next time we talk. I'll just send you the reel when we clip it up and be like, "See, some wise man once said,
okay.
you got to focus on the one
I'm just
thing,
gonna put it on repeat.
and you got to go." Just listen to yourself because you're only comparing yourself to yourself.
Okay.
So,
now I feel like you're just throwing it back in my face.
no.